Okay, well, I think we'll get started. Thank you all for joining us for this informational webinar featuring Program Manager from the USDA. I am Margaret Ramey. I'm the Director of Wisconsin Center for Technology Commercialization. We are part of the Universities of Wisconsin's Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship. Let me just, oops. Okay, so so we are Wisconsin's no-cost SBIR resource. We offer free advice, consulting, events, programming, and even grants that we manage to Wisconsin small businesses who are seeking SBIR funding. So our free programming spans from pre-proposal submittal to post-phase 2 award. You may contact us at any stage of your SBIR proposal preparation, but I do recommend doing so sooner than later, since we do have grants that will help you build a proposal. So we have grants. So we manage a grant program that may award Wisconsin companies up to $9,000 to offset the cost of grant or commercialization plan building consultants. And these consultants will assist in preparing a phase 1 or phase 2 SBIR or STTR. Now, once you receive an SBIR grant, a federal grant, you can apply for up to $275,000 in matching grant funds from the states through us. So again, you really, if you're considering pursuing SBIR funding, you need to sign up for our newsletter so you know when these grants are available and when you can apply for them. So I'll take another 1 minute of your time. On July 18th, we are hosting the SBIR Road Tour in Madison. It's an in-person event, and it's going to be featuring, I think, about 30 program managers from the SBIR programs across all 11 agencies. Melinda, are you going to be in Madison with us?
I am not, but we're sending 2 of our national program leaders.
Nice.
One is very experienced, and he's from Animal Production and Protection, and the other is our division director. So we'll have representation there, plenty of it.
That's great. And these program managers have one-on-ones available.
Yes.
So please, if you're interested in talking to a program manager from USDA, come to the road tour. Most of our things are free. This is not free, but it's really cheap. So please come. Now, in preparation for the road tour, we do have a June 25th event on how to talk to program managers, how to prepare a quad chart, and just really get prepared for that one-on-one that you'll have at the road tour. So I will be sending out links to those 2 events after this webinar. But it's a really good experience. So let's see, what else do I got? That was my highlight. But again, we'll send out more information about CTC, but we are Wisconsin's resource. We're excited to help you and and connect you with the right resources. So please check out our website and let us know how we can help. I will now pass it off to the main event. Let's see if I can unshare. Okay, I'm stopping sharing. So Melinda, you should be able to take over.
Okay, great. And thank you, Margaret and Rob, for that presentation. You do a lot to really help people get prepared, and I'm really impressed with that.
Thank
you. Am I sharing?
You are. Looks great.
Okay, good. So I'm Melinda Coffman. I'm the program coordinator manager for USDA for the USDA SBIR STTR program. And we are housed within the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And we have both the Small Business Innovation and Research. And as of last year, we added the Small Business Technology Transfer Program. So these are some of our program goals for all of the SBIR and STTR programs, not just USDA, it's for all of them. And strengthening the role of small business, that's a lot about what SBIR and STTR are about, because small businesses are the backbone of the US economy. And so these grants are there to recognize that. At the same time, we want to stimulate technological and scientific innovations from small businesses. So we were kind of combining those two things and hoping that those things will get pushed out into commercialization, so they don't get stuck in the pipeline, those innovations that these grants are designed to help them get out there. And then also, very importantly, to foster and encourage participation by historically underserved populations. And we at USDA, we do a lot of outreach to women and socially and economically disadvantaged, as well as hub zone business owners. So again, for all SBIR and our STTR programs, there are 3 phases. So phase 1, that is just your proof of concept, where you go to establish the feasibility of the project. And then phase 2 is to expand the research and development, but at the same time start to really ramp up the commercialization. So really start to focus on that. You've had your proof of concept. It's turned out well, or else you would be applying for phase 2. And so you're starting that commercialization. And then phase 3 is very focused on commercialization. Phase 3 is also where almost all the time you're finding alternate sources besides the federal government for the funding of your phase 3. And then it goes to market. Now, USDA specific, we have around a $42 million budget. Our phase 1 awards, SBIR is an 8-month award, STTR is a 12-month award. The awards range from $125,000 for phase 1 to $175,000. Phase 2 is $600,000 for all 10 topic areas, and we'll get to those. And those run 24 months for both SBIR and STTR. So what are some of the differences between SBIR and STTR? So a lot of it is around the nonprofit research institution or federally funded research and development center. So usually, I'm going to use shorthand for those, that usually those are universities or federal labs, although there are other nonprofit research institutions that would qualify. So for SBIR, we encourage you to work with a university or a federal lab, but it is not required. You don't have to do that. And it's not held against you in the panel review process if you don't. For STTR, though, you must. It's a big part of STTR, and so you must do that. And so the percent of participation differs between SBIR and STTR for universities and or federal labs. So for SBIR, it's 33% or less for phase 1, and it's less than 50% for phase 2. For STTR, it's 30 to 60% for both phase 1 and phase 2. The primary employment of the principal investigator, this is another big difference between SBIR and STTR. It must be with the small business for SBIR. So if you are a university staff, say you want to spin off a small business, or you already have an existing small business and you apply for SBIR, then you have to decrease your time at your university for the duration of the project to less than 50%. But for STTR, you can be employed full-time at either the small business or the nonprofit research institution. And then for STTR, you have to have a formal cooperative agreement, and usually, you know, with either any kind of nonprofit research institution, they usually have those. We don't prescribe what that agreement should look like or how it should be worded, but they usually have those. But if you are going to apply for STTR, make sure you have that cooperative agreement. These are award funding rates. So the success rate of applicants is for phase one, it's around 15%. And that's these are highly competitive grants. I mean, I wish we had the budget to have a higher success rate for the applicants, but this is pretty standard, excuse me, across SBIR programs that you'll find most of them are around 15%. But for phase two, and in USDA, this isn't true for all SBIR programs, but for USDA, you can only apply for phase two if you have successfully completed or on the way to successfully completing a phase one. So for phase two, that makes the success rate of your application 50%. So these are some of the success metrics for all SBIR and STTR programs. Of course, the sales of your technology and your services, whatever your innovation is, the sales of that is very important, and it's definitely a major success metric. Also, licenses of your technology, that's another success metric, and then of course, new jobs created because of your innovation. Some of the features of the USDA specific SBIR, STTR programs are that the ideas are investigator initiated. And then awards, we base the awards on the scientific and technical merit. Of course, that's kind of the heart of the SBIR program. So that's very important, the scientific and technical merit. Commercial potential of the innovation, that's also goes hand in hand. So that's very important. And then also the qualifications, the company qualifications, that's something else to be considered. Again, subcontracting to universities and federal labs is encouraged with SBIR, and it is required for STTR. And then we also offer technical and business assistance, which all SBIR and STTR programs do. So you might ask, what is technical and business assistance? It was introduced as part of the John S. McCain National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. And this is just a very small list of what it can include. There's much more than this. It's really anything that is directly related to commercialization of your product. So just think of it, I would encourage you to think of it that way. So if you can make a direct link to how you're going to get this product to the marketplace, then that is probably a TABA expense. So the budget for TABA, it's $6,500 for phase one, and that is to write your commercialization review. If you'll recall, saying phase one is focused on the feasibility of your innovation. So you're doing a feasibility study, a proof of concept. And so you're not really focused on commercialization in phase one, but you're at the same time, you're trying to gear up for phase two. So you will need a commercialization plan for phase two. So that $6,500 is there for you to get the services you need to write a good commercialization plan. And then in phase two, that's where the acceleration of commercialization happens, and you get $50,000 for those activities that help with commercialization. These are our 10 topic areas at USDA, and we're very excited and proud about those. They are very stable. They don't change much from year to year. Many years they don't change at all. And so each one of them is very broad, and that's one of the reasons they don't change. So the broad, so that we can capture a wide net, because we can't anticipate, it's the nature of innovation that we can't anticipate what some of these brilliant innovations might be. So that has worked for us for a long time, and that's why we keep it this way. So we have everything from forest and related resources. We have 2 plant production and protection topic areas, because it's such a large area. We broke them down into biology and engineering. We also have, of course, we're USDA, so we have animal production and protection. We have conservation of natural resources. Food science and nutrition is a large area. Rural and community development, aquaculture, biofuels, bio-based products, small and mid-sized farms. So you probably noticed that on the slide, 8.6 and 8.12 are, and they have an asterisk and they're lighter color. And that's because these 2 topic areas are a little different from the other 8 in that their award amount is the $125,000, while the other 8 topic areas are at $175,000. So the reason that they're 8.6 and 8.12 are at $125,000 for phase 1 is because you can use off-the-shelf technology if it is applied in an innovative way. So you can take something existing, find a brand new application for it, and apply to 8.6 or 8.12. The rest require and innovate a scientific or technical innovation that isn't in the market. I think I see a hand raised, and I'm more than willing to answer questions as we go along. Margaret, is that all right?
Definitely, yes.
This is probably not a super important question, but I'm wondering what the numbers are that are associated with these program areas.
Oh, how
8.1, 8.2, what is that? What is that?
That's an excellent question. I think they started out all, I'm not sure exactly why. It has to do with our grant systems. That NIFA, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, is a scientific granting agency. So all the grants have to have numbers to connect them to the program. So I imagine 8 was available. They were like that when I got here. So that's just my best guess. Sorry, I don't know for sure. So again, these other 8, they're funded in phase 1 at $175,000, and then all 10 topic areas are funded at $600,000 for phase 2. This slide we leave in here just to remind people that agriculture is very much a scientific field. We're not just cows and plows. And so if, we just put up a sampling of the type of science we deal with regularly, there's much more than this. So I like to encourage people, if you have a scientific or technical innovation and you haven't thought about an agricultural application of your technology, then I would encourage you just to, think about that. I think because we use all kinds of, sensors, drones, all kinds of different scientific innovations. So this is typical program timelines. So usually our phase 1 is released in late June or in early July. So we're hoping for it to be released anytime coming up soon. We don't have complete control over that. It has to go through an approval process. And so that's why I'm not completely definite about when it'll be released, but should be June, July. And then the deadline right now is set for mid-September. That'll depend on when it actually is published, but it should be mid-September. And then reviews and awards are November through January. And then the start date will be July 1 of 2025 for this upcoming solicitation. And then phase two, again, phase two is only open to phase one awardees. Some of the larger SBIR, STTR programs have direct to phase two. We just don't, we'd like to be able to do that, but we don't have the budget for that. So you have to be phase one. And that solicitation is almost always released in December. And the proposal deadline's in March. And then we have reviews and award notifications April through June. And the start date is September 1 every year. This is our review process. That you'll find that review processes, differ between SBIR programs and some SBIR programs are contracting versus granting. We're totally a granting agency. So that's how we do it. We use we believe that this is the best most equitable way to do this, and we've had good luck with it. So our proposals are evaluated by a confidential peer review panel. So we use people from academia, from industry, from nonprofits, and sometimes from federal labs. And then all the applicants who make it to panel will receive verbatim copies of their reviews, their panel reviews. And then if you were not selected, we really encourage you to go back and try again, because again, with that 15% success rate, sometimes it's necessary to apply several times. So we really encourage people to do that. We have too many proposals with too many great innovations and not enough money to fund them all. So please, if you aren't selected the first cycle, then please reapply. Phase two applicants can only apply one time. So for phase two, we encourage you to make it your very best proposal. If you have to skip a cycle to do that, that's fine. Even if you have to skip 2 cycles to do that, that's perfectly fine. We want you to give it your best shot. So this is about university and government involvement in the SBIR program for USDA. Scientists can serve as consultants or receive a contract and continue to work full-time at their home. Actually, I think there might be a mistake in this slide. I apologize. So for SBIR, the subcontractors can work at their own university. That's true. But they're limited to no more than 1/3 of phase one or 1/2 of phase two. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. We recently updated our slides, so I'm not completely used to these. I apologize. And then scientists may serve as a PI, but you have to reduce your employment to less than 50% for the duration of the grant for SBIR. And it's usually not acceptable to use your own lab. You have to find other lab facilities. And then for STTR, that's where the PI can be employed at either the university or the small businesses. It gives you that flexibility. That's one of the big advantages of STTR. And the small business must perform 40% of the work on the project. And then a research institution must perform 30%. Then there's 30% left. And you can either have the research institution that you've already subcontracted with perform that 30%, or find another research institution for the other 30%. So you can have 2 research institutions, 30% each, or you can have one that has 60%. A CRADA is a cooperative research and development agreement, and it's one of the few things that actually gives you an advantage. So in the panel review, if the panel judges 2 proposals to be of equal merit, and one has a CRADA and the other does not, the CRADA is the one that gets the recommended award, is recommended for award. So it is an advantage. There's also other advantages to CRADA agreements in that you get to use the federal lab, get to use their equipment. The only thing you have to buy is if you need a piece of equipment and the federal lab doesn't have it, then you have to cover the cost for that. But there really are quite a few advantages to it. It takes a little while to get a cooperative research and development agreement or a CRADA, but the initial process is really quick. If anyone's interested in that, you can contact me and I will put you in contact with that comes from the Agricultural Research Service, and I can put you in contact with their Office of Technology Transfer. And my understanding is you fill out one form and they can tell you whether or not there's a match pretty quickly. And so that can be helpful to applicants. These next few slides are our advice for how to make a successful application to USDA SBIR STTR. So again, having that high scientific and technical merit along with the commercial potential, kind of have both of those things clearly outlined in your proposal, in your application. And we at USDA, we don't shy away from high risk, high reward applications. So if you feel like your technology or your innovation is high risk, high reward, please don't feel discouraged at all. We welcome those, as well as we also welcome other things that are not as risky, but it won't discourage us to have a high risk, high reward. Make sure you have good consultants, and then don't forget there's that CRADA agreement as a possibility. Demonstrate in your application that you have some business expertise available to you on your team for that commercialization piece. Letters of support are really quite important. The panels look at those closely. And so having strong letters of support from phase 3 partners like investors, consumers, just end users, that would be really important. And there isn't a certain number you have to have. It really depends on, the weight of the letters of support you have. If you're going to sell directly to producers, maybe having 3 or 4 producers saying that they would buy your product. That would be good. If Bayer has said they would buy your technology, then you don't need as many letters of support. And then again, just demonstrate in your phase 1 application how you plan to enter the market, and once you're there, how do you plan to sustain yourself in the market? So this is maybe not very exciting, but very important. If you think you might apply for this phase 1 for USDA or any federal grant or contract, you need to register first down here with sam.gov because that can take the longest. And every year we have people who
Melinda?
don't. Yes.
We do have a question in the question and answer panel that's kind of detailed.
Sure. Sure, let me take a look. A restriction on who can apply. The grantee must be a small business owner and not work at a university. Yes, for SBIR. So you can work at a university and apply for an SBIR grant. You have to have a small business. You can't apply from the university. But for SBIR, you have to decrease your time at the university to less than 50% for the duration of the project. And so with STTR, you can stay full-time at the university. So you have a choice with STTR whether you want to be full-time with a small business or the university, or split your time. But with SBIR, you have to reduce. You don't have to leave the university, you just have to reduce. Let me make sure. This is relevant to your own employment. So the PI, or the PD, your employment, if you are employed at a university, then, those are the restrictions for SBIR and STTR having no restriction. If that, doesn't answer your question, just, add more to that, and, I'll try to do that. So after you apply for SAM.gov, count on, 7 weeks, for, hopefully it'll come back faster. It can, sometimes it comes back quickly. But then after you get over that hurdle of the SAM.gov, then you have to register at SBIR.gov, and then that allows you to create an account on grants.gov, and that is where you will apply. So our biggest piece of advice is to read the RFA. So please take the time to read that RFA. It really has all the answers you need. Download it, make it searchable. If you have a question, just put some search terms in there. I know it's long. I know it's tedious, but you can make it more user-friendly by just getting familiar with it, and getting used to searching it to answer your questions. We also really encourage you to contact the topic area national program leader. So one of those 10 topic areas, the national program leader for that topic area, and you'll find their contact information in the RFA. It's also on our website. Make sure you follow all the application guidelines for format and page limits and required documents. So the required documents are in grants.gov. Again, we have people every year, probably about 20% of our applicants don't make it to panel. They don't make it past the administrative review because they haven't followed the formatting guidelines. And it's not because we're such sticklers. It's just we have to have an even playing field. So if your project narrative is supposed to be 17 pages and you send in 25, you get more time, you get more space to describe your project, and that isn't fair. So that's why we have those strict guidelines on formatting and page limits. And then, when you're making your application, make sure it responds to all the review criteria again, which is right there in that RFA. So in your application, try to provide, don't have to take a lot of time with this, but just a few sentences or a short paragraph. Give us a vision of how you see this innovation going to market and being successful. I guess share your dream with us, what you think will happen. And then sell that importance of your project in alignment with those USDA priorities that you'll find in the RFA. And then make sure you provide a detailed experimental plan. Remember how important that is, because that's what the panel will really be looking at, your research proposal in there. And then, provide some insight into that commercial potential, and then show the connectivity with communities with those letters of support. These are some assistance resources. There are many of them, and the Wisconsin Technology Center is one of those who does a great job with giving you resources for resources and making money available. So I really encourage people to use whatever resources are available for them. And they're FAST programs, and this down at the bottom, find local assistance on the SBIR.gov website, which is actually a very good website. I encourage you to look around at that. But this will give you a drop-down menu for your state of local assistance resources. So we do a lot of outreach. We have for several years in an attempt to increase the number of women, socially, economically disadvantaged, and hub zone business owners that apply and therefore are awarded. And even though it's too soon to say that we have a trend, our data looks promising. And I think our outreach efforts are maybe paying off. I hope so, because we have had more awardees in those categories. And so that outreach looks like we do an average of 3 virtual overviews per month. Many of those are to underrepresented audiences. We participate in outreach events put on by the SBA, SBIR program, road tours, as Margaret mentioned, and other virtual and in-person events. We have a booth and consultations at SBIR Tech Connect conferences twice a year, usually, almost always we are there. We'll be there next week. So I hope some of you can join. And then we do some other in-person events, usually focused on underrepresented groups. We also contracted to try to make our outreach to underrepresented groups a little more streamlined and efficient. We contracted with a company, ICF Next, who looks at opportunities to help get underrepresented companies interested in USDA. So they also, one thing this audience might be interested in, they can help connect small businesses with researchers. If you're a small business and you have an idea, but you need a researcher to help with that research design for phase 1 and then into phase 2, ICF Next can help connect you with them. And then they can also help connect you with places like the Wisconsin Center for Technology and other accelerators and catalysts and SBIR, state SBIR coordinators, and provide application workshops to a target community, and then help connect potential applicants with an organization that will guide them step by step through the SBIR, STTR process, like this assistance organization will do. These are a few of our success stories. I'll go through them quickly. I want to make sure we have time for any questions or discussion. So Stony Creek Colors, they developed an agricultural supply chain to replace synthetic dyes with plants-based drop-in solution. It's called BioPreferred. Many blue jeans are made with this now, and so if you're wearing jeans, they very well have been made with Stony Creek Colors. They've had a lot of commercialization success with their indigo dye, and much of that is within the blue jean industry. Kodak is from Brookings, South Dakota, and they developed a natural process to convert soybean meal to fish feed by using microbial enhancement. Their product is MePro, and they've had a lot of commercialization success. As you can see here, they have a 30,000 square foot facility, and they've sent samples to many countries, and they're currently producing 30,000 tons of MePro. This is Gross Wind Technologies, and they're in Ankeny, Iowa. I apologize if I mispronounced that. They have a commercial scale algae-based treatment system. They remove nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus from wastewater and produce a pelletized, slow-release algae fertilizer as a value-added byproduct. And then Isotruss Inc. They developed a new composite tower technology that is lightweight and strong. The craneless tower solutions with respect to cost, time, and safety. It's a tower that can be deployed in remote areas, including even mountaintops, that can withstand high wind and extremely cold temperatures. And as you can see, they're award winners. This is a link to our brochure, and it's relatively new, and we're kind of proud of it. So if you have time to take a look, we encourage you to do that. This is our non-discrimination policy. We take it this is for USDA and we take it very seriously. And I won't take the time to read all of it. If Margaret and Rob want these slides, you'll have it there and you can use the link to go to it if you like. But I will summarize by saying USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. Additional details are included in the slide and a link to the USDA non-discrimination statement, 508 compliance, and finally discrimination complaints. We encourage audience members to reference this slide if they have any questions or concerns. Again, I'm Melinda Coffman. I'm the program coordinator. This is my email address. David Songstad is our national program leader for SBIR and STTR. He's also over the biofuels and bio-based products 8.8 topic area. And you can contact him, especially if you're unsure which topic area you belong in. And one thing I might have should have said before is because our topic areas are broad, it's pretty common for people to not know. They might see 2 or 3 areas they fit in. And so if that's the case, you can contact Dr. Songstad, and while he can't advise you, he can probably illuminate a little bit more about the topic areas. And that information should help you decide. And then we have 2 excellent, really great program specialists, Tammy Neville and Nuran Nahar. So they're there. And I see we have a question here. You're fine asking John many questions. You can have your business partner be the PI, so you wouldn't be forced to yes, you could do that. That's a good solution. And that's the end of my presentation. I don't know if I can unshare. Rob or Margaret, can you unshare me?
Oh, sure. I think so. Oh, there you go. Great.
Okay.
Well, no, thank you. That was great. So we can open up the floor now for other questions. And if you want to type them in, or I'm not sure if participants are allowed to unmute, but if you raise your hand, I'll unmute you.
Should be allowed to unmute, so.
Okay.
So Margaret, this is Todd. I'd like to
Yeah.
mention to John, we absolutely appreciate your questions on this. And if you haven't signed up for our services at the CTC, we totally encourage you to do so. You can go to our website, wisconsinctc.org. Sign up for our services. We'll be able to visit with you about your questions, about your project and company, and get you started on it.
Yes, please
Thank
do
you.
that. I did share some links in the chat here. Oh, here we have another question. Do we need a project pitch for your phase 1?
No, you do not. Nope.
Yeah, that's pretty NSF specific for the time being, I think.
I think so.
Great. So I was going to ask a question. In order, like, to get the most out of a meeting with the program director, is there anything that people should prepare before?
Yes, I'm really glad you answered that, Margaret. I asked that, Margaret. It's best, just to give the national, every topic area has what they call a national program leader, which is a scientist over as a subject matter expert over that area. And so if you want to have a consultation, we suggest either sending a quad chart or a brief description of your innovation. Like when I say brief, I mean like 1 paragraph, just to give them some idea before they set up the meeting with you and meet with you.
And just a reminder, we do have a quad chart event coming up on the 25th. And even if you don't go to the road tour, we're going to teach you how to put together a quad chart. So that might be helpful for y'all.
Very useful skill, very useful.
Yes, great. And if you would like to have a one-on-one with either Todd or Rob, our technical consultants, they'd be happy to get you prepared to talk to the program director. So
So we do have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Yuri would like to know, what is the last date for the grant application for phase 1 in this year?
Right now it's set into mid-September, but we won't know for sure until it's actually published. So we want to give applicants a minimum of 60 days. We try really hard to give 90 days, but we submitted the RFA, months ago, and it's in the approval process. So we don't have complete control. So think of mid-September, or think of it in terms of that. And if it won't be earlier than that, it could be a little later than that.
And then Ranjit has a question as to whether or not we will be emailing the presentation slides. I think we will be.
Yes, I'll send a PDF of the slides to all of you, and then you can send them out if that's all right, Margaret and Rob.
Yes, that's great. And if it's okay with you, I might send out the recording too
Oh, sure.
of the webinar.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
John Henderson wants to know if we have an example of a quad chart to share in the webinar. I don't think we do, but we have some, like we said, we have that webinar coming up shortly about that. Also, the CTC does have a live video about quad charts in its YouTube channel. So that's another place to look for that. I think, Margaret, do you have the link to the quad chart as well, or not?
Yes, I'm working on that right now, and I'll share it in the chat. Here we go. Multitasking here. Perfect.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. So we have shared that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, fantastic. Thank you, Melinda. I will be sending out the information. I'll wait for a PDF of your slides first, and then send out all sorts of good information for the attendees here. Thank
Great.
you all. And thank you, Melinda.
Oh, thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, have a good rest of your day, everybody.